as y'all know, it's June, which is Pride Month, and I want to share my coming out story. Not everything is rainbows and butterflies. Do you remember where you were at on June 14th, 2006? Most people won't know because it's not a big known day in history. But for me it is. Today's the 13th. So 18 years ago today, unbeknownst to me, it's going to be the last day of what I knew my normal life and surroundings and relationships to be. Because on June 14th, 2006 is the day that I came out. It was the summer before my senior year, so I was only 17. And being raised a Jehovah's Witness made it really difficult. I knew that it wasn't going to be accepted or supported. I didn't know to what extent that as a 17-year-old would have to face and deal with. It is the day that my world got flipped upside down. And not in the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air type of way. Many hurtful things were said by my parents. Being a Jehovah's Witness and coming out as gay, is, a absolute reason for disfellowshipping. Other people know as excommunication, things like that. And being 17 and having to go through that sucked. So even though, so the way a disfellowshipping works is elders of the congregation will announce it to the rest of the congregation by saying, sister or brother so-and-so is no longer a sister or brother, or, part of the congregation, part of, part of the motherfucking cult. I'm gonna edit that out. That's not the hardest part. The hardest part is for at least 3, we're gonna go with 4 months. For the first 4 months of being disfellowshipped, I was still made to attend the meetings and whatnot at the Kingdom Hall, Sundays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays. I had to sit in the very back. No one was allowed to talk to me because I'm disfellowshipped. I'm punished. But it's also like being on display and, you know, like, oh, look at that person. They messed up. They whatever. And so I had no friends. I wasn't allowed to. At least not in J-Dub land. So since I had my own vehicle, I would show up right as it was starting so that I just didn't have to have that awkward run into people in the aisle, you know, trying to get to their seats and be like, I'd put my hand up to my face, try and fall asleep without, you know, whatever. And then I would get up and leave early. And that was for 4 months. Then finally, when my parents realized I was not trying to do whatever to be back in the flock, because if we rewind a little bit, when I came out and my parents told the elders, they gave me a week to think about what I just said, because what it came down to is being gay isn't what got me disfellowshipped. It's the wanting to live my life, live my truth. Because essentially they said, you can stay a Jehovah's Witness, but you're not allowed to be in a relationship, get married, like, be alone in that aspect. I just hid this for so many years and it damn near almost cost me my life. You think I'm GTFOH. So, once my mother realized I am not trying to get back in this, I wasn't made to go to the meetings anymore. Sweet. I as soon as I turned 18, well, 12-ish, no, 12, no. For the first 3 weeks after my 18th birthday, I was allowed to stay living under their roof because my mother had an extensive surgery done and was bedridden for the first 3 weeks. So I was allowed to stay there because, take care of house things. But as soon as she was cleared to, be able to do more, she showed me the door. My dad tried fighting for me, trying to negotiate, because I still had a couple months left of my senior year. She wasn't having it. So that's a whole nother kit and caboodle. Some of the things that my mother told me when I did come out, she first called me selfish because I was looking out for my own happiness by coming out knowing how Jehovah feels about this. Okay. Not even 5 minutes later, it was a couple minutes, I don't even know. I just know it was a very, very short time span that went by. And the words that came out of her mouth were, "How do you think this is going to make us look in the congregation?" One, I don't give a rat's ass. Two, are you the pot or the kettle? Like, we just need to get these roles, figured out. Even though I wasn't being selfish. Prior to me coming out, my mother knew that I was hurtful to myself, and yes, they absolutely were cries of help, because I knew at an earlier age that I'm gay, but I also knew that coming out was not really a good option for me. But there was no mental health care. That's highly frowned upon. So let's fast forward. 4 years after I came out, so that'd be 2010. Yep. I had called my dad and said that I wanted to have a conversation with him when he was home on his lunch break, when my mother would be at work. And so we made that happen. And it was then that we just talked. I told him that I will never do whatever I have to get back in that disgusting organized religion that's a cult. I told him that I still loved him. It all sucked. And then we got on the topic of, I told him that my original plan was to wait until after my high school graduation to come out. That way, whether I was off at college or whatever, I would already be out of the house and it would be just easier, you know. Because for the 9 months that I still lived under their roof, disfellowshipped, at the time that I would leave for school, they were still sleeping. I worked at Domino's right after school until late at night. So I would get back, they would be in bed. My mother did not talk to me. I was just allowed to live under their roof because at 17 years old, they were still legally responsible of me. That's per my mother's words. So when I said that, of when, you know, my original plan and goal and things, that's when he looked at me and said, everything happens for a reason in its own due time. And then he said, I don't think you would still be here if you would have waited another year. He wasn't wrong. Because living a double life, you know, being out to my friends, my worldly association at school, but then going door to door on Saturdays, and it was taking a toll. So but the highlight of that conversation was when he said that it finally clicked in his head that I was born this way and didn't choose this lifestyle. I, of course, joked and said, well, I tried telling you that 4 years ago. But it took him having a conversation with someone who is gay, never been married, stayed within Joho land, and And I was just like, more power to him. But that wouldn't have been for me, you know. Pride Month is right after Mental Health Awareness Month. That then leads to a couple months from now, it's going to be suicide awareness. American Foundation for Suicide Prevention is going to be kicking off their Out of the Darkness walks, raising money for all the things that help with programs, getting help for those that need it. And it's ironic because of how my dad died 2 years ago. Yeah, it was 2 years on April 7th. He lost the mental health war and took his own life. It obviously still hurts, but through regular therapy and quitting drinking and I'm at peace with my dad's decision. He's always with me, you know. This blue butterfly. He was known as the Butterfly Man. So I hope that this video reaches the right person at the right time. As maybe motivation, or it's something to the extent of tomorrow makes 18 years since I came out. It was a very rough ride and go for the first couple years. One of the other things that I don't know what kind of cockamamie bullshit my mother was spouting off, but she said that all gay people will at least once in their life contract an STD, become depressed, do drugs, and die. And if they're not dying from the drugs, they're committing suicide because they're depressed, because they have an STD, STI, whatever, because they're gay. What did you Google? So even through my mental health challenges and rough patches in life, and especially when I was younger, I would tell people that every day that I live, I prove my mother wrong. And the petty Betty, within me is just tickled pink by that, because I don't know. The fact that she didn't even hug me at my dad's funeral. She allowed for his funeral to be a platform for other J-dubs to essentially sell their religion, push it on a whole room of people that are not. I mean, there was quite a many that showed up. I was very surprised. But oh. Yeah. My dad is definitely in a better place. As much as it sucks. Because the world got a little dimmer when he left it. Because he was definitely a light. He had an absolute love for nature, butterflies, birds, whatever. We would go butterfly collecting together, metal detecting, throw the frisbee. He was super intelligent. Thankfully, I get my math and science love and just from him. Yeah, the world got a little dimmer when he left. And a little more chaotic because he was very meticulous. And his corny ass sense of humor, dad jokes, punny pun. Yep. So, whether you know me or not, because I am going to post this publicly, there's definitely more to my coming out story, but this is all I really wanted to share. Kind of a little more. I'm looking at the time. But if you're someone who's, you know, out and besties with your parents, give them the biggest, tightest hug ever, because that's unconditional love. If you're someone who's out thinking of coming out, scared, not really supported by immediate family of any sort, you're not alone. And you can reach out and talk. I'm here. "18 years have gone by, and I don't regret for a second coming out when I did. Because everything happens for a reason in its own due time." Happy Pride.